What's good, friends? List episode 32 of the Game Pass Gamecast coming at you. 2020 is looking to be one of the biggest and best years in gaming. From the launch of next-gen consoles to massive titles like Cyberpunk 2077 and Halo Infinite dropping, it's bound to be crazy. With the crazy ride ahead of us, we decided we should make the journey a little more interesting. So, this week, we're holding the draft of the Game Pass Gamecast first annual Fantasy Critic Games League. Not familiar with Fantasy Critic Games? Imagine fantasy football meshed with the most anticipated game releases of this year. Don't worry, we'll fill you in on it so you can play along too. Plus, while Sony and Nintendo are still heavily on the radar for Microsoft, Phil Spencer is saying that their eyes are also heavily fixed on two other entities in the industry. Also, is WB Montreal's rumored upcoming Batman game a soft reboot? We've got all those juicy details and more on the newest episode of the Game Pass Gamecast.
Now the fun begins.
Punch it.
Stop! You violated the law.
Welcome back to another episode of the Game Pass Gamecast, your weekly go-to podcast for all things Xbox and Xbox Game Pass, including news, rumors, and conversations around them damn good video games. You can catch new episodes of the show each and every Friday morning on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all other major podcast services. So be sure to subscribe to us wherever you get those, and follow us on Twitter at GPGC Podcast. Stay up to date with everything regarding the show and video games alike. Finally, the trio is back together. I can finally say again, as always, joining me are my partners in crime, Mike Peapack and Adam Marshy Marsh. Mike, you're fucking Mr. Worldwide right now. You're going all over the fucking place right now, Pitbull. So,
Mr. Worldwide Chopper.
Yeah, you are a worldwide chopper. I'm not going to put Pitbull on you because I don't want to put any disrespect on you, you know? You're not Dale.
Yeah, put some respect on my name.
You're not
Put
Dale.
some respect on my name.
Yeah, so, Mike, fill me up. What's been going on? You took a trip to Vegas.
I'll fill you up.
Yeah,
I'll fill you up, big boy.
I know you will. I mean, we'll talk about that off air. I mean, come on now. This is a child-friendly show. What the fuck are you talking about? No, catch me up. How was your trip? You went out to Vegas, did a little golfing out there, and then let me know your experience betting on the Super Bowl out in Vegas as well.
Yeah, so we went out to Las Vegas, Nevada, and we stayed off strip at the Suncoast Hotel. It was really awesome. We played 3 rounds of golf, 2 of which were at courses that were just unbelievable. The first one was Wolf Creek, which was made famous by being on the Tiger Woods video games, and people thought that it was a fake golf course. Well, it turns out it's a real one, and it was basically like fake. It was like you were living in a dream playing golf there. It was incredible, but other than that, we also played at Rio Seco, which is home to the Butch Harmon School of Golf, which Butch Harmon was famous for being Tiger Woods' swing coach for a long time. So pretty legit. And yeah, we bet on the Chiefs. We took them at minus 1.5. So me and a couple of buddies, we went in together and put a pretty hefty bet on the Chiefs and had a blast. And we're really happy with the result, obviously, because we wound up winning, even though in the fourth quarter it looked a little shaky at points. But we were happy to get the job done. So all in all, great trip. Las Vegas is pretty much as crazy as you would think down at the Strip. We did head down there and eat at Bobby Flay's restaurant, the Mesa Grill, inside of Caesar's Palace. And Vegas is probably as crazy as you could ever imagine. It's actually more than like you can't. It's almost like walking around in downtown Las Vegas near the Strip is like, it's like you can't even believe that it's real. You don't believe that like there's a place in the United States that exists that's like that. And I'm sure Amsterdam's even worse, but Vegas is pretty darn crazy compared to the rest of the country.
How is this legal?
Yeah, it's like, how is all this legal? People are just, doing all kinds of different things. So it's insane.
So, and then kind of rounding up the Super Bowl talk here and all that shit, do you think, bringing this back to video games, is the Madden curse gone? Is it gonzo? Do you think it's done now?
I don't really. I think like the Madden curse has been gone for a long time because it was season-ending injuries for like 5 years in a row, and I did believe it when we were younger.
Is this the final stake in that? Maybe.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I mean, especially looking at it coming back from the AFC Championship the year ago, losing there on the doorstep of the Super Bowl, to then coming back and winning the Super Bowl. I mean, that rarely happens. Very, very, very rarely happens. So, with a cover athlete like that. But, hey, keeping with video games now. After you talked about your wild, Las Vegas shenanigans.
Wild Wild West.
Exactly, Will Smith and shit. So, fuck, who else was in that movie, Wild Wild West? Who else? Was Owen Wilson in that?
I don't know about all that.
Wow. I gotta look that up now. Wild West. The train's still on the tracks. The train is still on the tracks. It's not off yet. No, it isn't fucking Owen Wilson. Where the fuck is the cast? Kevin Kline. I don't know where the fuck.
I don't know who the fuck that is, but
it's not fucking Owen Wilson.
All I know is you go straight to hell, sir. After you, sir.
Exactly. The point being, it's not fucking Owen Wilson. I don't know why I was thinking fucking Owen Wilson. So, anyways, bringing it back to video games. One game that I know you were hyped about, and I think it's getting a little. I think. From what I've heard and what you've told me already, outside of what I've read online and whatnot, because I haven't had a chance to play it, Warcraft 3 Reforged. Kind of catch me up on, just real quick, kind of the Spark Notes version of it. What the hell's going on with that game? Why are people so pissed? And what do you think in general about the release of it overall?
Yeah, it's basically a worse version than the old. Than the old Frozen Throne copy of Warcraft 3.
Before you get into that, just fun fact, just because I didn't close out the tab on Wild Wild West, 4.9 out of 10 on IMDb and a 17% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not good.
That's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad. So go ahead, continue though.
Yeah, it's just like a shell of a game. Like there's a lot, like you can't even see your total wins and losses right now. You can't see anyone's wins and losses. It's just a really basically it's not like the game kind of works. It didn't work at first, but it's a pretty bare bones release, if you will.
Mm-hmm. It's not a good game.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's a good game. I mean, it's like classic Warcraft, which is fun, but it's not a good game.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard, it's just literally granted, it's at what, $30, I think is how much it costs. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so $30, it's, not a full $60 release, which you would hope it wouldn't be, but at the same time, you're getting less features, you're not getting any, I don't believe there's any upscaling, really, with textures or anything like that, overall, for the most part. There's still, full motion video, cutscenes and cinematics that haven't been touched. They didn't get any kind of treatment, really, to them, at least from what I've read in, some of the different media I've looked at about the game. It doesn't seem like it's shocking. Not shocking, but I guess it's just sad knowing who it comes from and what at one point how easy it was for fans of Blizzard to just be like, oh, it's a Blizzard game. I'm just gonna buy it. It's gonna be good.
Right.
It's just sad, I guess, to see it at that point now. But anyways. Adam, catch me up. What's going on with you? What's good? What's going on? And what have you been playing, my good friend?
Lately, I've been playing some Halo Reach with some of my coworkers.
Still scratching the itch?
Oh yeah, every once in a while, I'll just hop on. They recently added a Halo Combat Evolved kind of game mode in Reach. So you got the 3-shot headshot pistols. The gravity's a little different. The weapons and maps are specifically just the ones that were from Combat Evolved. Mm-hmm. So that's been kind of fun. Other than that, I've been sampling a couple of games on Game Pass just because I've been bored. I tried out Infinifactory, which is really enjoyable. It's kind of like a puzzle game where you have to build these assembly lines. What else was on there that I looked at? I tried Moonlighter for a couple of minutes, but I was really sucked into Infiniminer, so I wanted to stick to that.
So catch me up on Infiniminer. What's the
Or
pool
sorry,
with that game?
Infinifactory.
Infinifactor. I'm sorry. Catch me up on that. Like, what's the pool with it? What's the premise? Because I'm not familiar with it at all. I've heard of Moonlighter. I've heard actually good things about Moonlighter from a few different content creators I've watched, listened to on podcasts and whatnot. They randomly have gotten hooked into it on, I believe it's on Switch and PS4 as well. I think it's just multi-platform. But catch me up on, fill me up on what's going on with that game though.
So in Infinifactory, you are an engineer driving to work, and you get kidnapped by aliens, and
nice.
they ask you to start building them little assembly lines
As they
for
should.
God knows what. But you kind of get like stuffed into this little tiny, not a cell, but it's like a very small hotel room type of thing, and they drop little food pellets down to you, and you just have to solve these like increasingly difficult. They're essentially puzzles. And they introduce different blocks over time where you build the manufacturing setups to like there's like a place where a block will spawn, and you have to carry it along to the goalpost where it gets teleported away, and you have to get like at least 10 of them made. And they increase in complexity over time. You start off just sending blocks with conveyor belts. After a while, you have to start welding blocks together, rotating them, stacking them on top of each other, arranging them in different shapes. And your tools are really basic. You just have like blocks that will weld any two blocks that are next to them. You have conveyor belts that can go in any direction, but only like on a flat plane. And then they can drop blocks, but you can't push them back up. And then you have some very basic circuitry like sensors, wiring that you have sensors which will detect whether a block is right in front of it, and it'll like create a charge, and it'll send that charge over wires, and it'll power these little piston pusher things. So like if you sense a block is there, you can push a piston and like put it onto the next conveyor belt or whatever. You kind of have to just like look at it and get a feel for it to see what it's all about, but I'm really enjoying it.
No, yeah, definitely. So not to kind of cut this short, I'll bring it back into you, but major kind of breaking news. I just picked up my phone to put it on Do Not Disturb, and it was open on Twitter, and my thing refreshed. Rod Ferguson, the creative director behind Gears of War forever after Cliff Bleszinski, he's at the Coalition now, is leaving to join Blizzard to oversee Diablo, the whole franchise. So that's nuts. I mean, this is somebody who's been like ingrained in Gears of War in that franchise since its inception, right with Cliff, but has overseen it now for, the better part of a decade now. It feels like that's just mind blowing. Like to me, that's a huge move. And definitely, hey, they're getting, in my opinion, the right guy going into that franchise, because it feels like Diablo has been a little stale now that franchise in general, even with 4's announcement, needs a little kick in the ass, if you ask me, but, that's crazy. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, breaking news. That's the first time I think we've actually had that while we're recording, that something actually happens. But go ahead. Anything else you're playing, Adam, outside of that?
Let's see. I've been playing the new fighter in Smash, Byleth, the protagonist of Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Nice. Any early reaction to that, or review on him? Just because all you ever hear about since they've announced Byleth is literally, another Fire Emblem character. Oh my god! Like, not like, he plays well, or I don't really care. It's just like, oh my god, you're a Fire Emblem Sword Fire, damn it.
Yeah, those people can die mad. I've been really enjoying Byleth. They are very strong, and they're not that hard to play against either. So they have very defined strengths and weaknesses. When you hit a good combo, or when you get like a good, they have like this big, almost like a Falcon Punch on their down B, where they wind up with this big axe for a second and then swing it. When you get one of those off, it feels really good. But they're not overpowered, I don't think. They're pretty easy to counter and play against if you're smart. Not simply a sword user. They have the spear, the axe, the bow, so they're a little bit more versatile. Just really been enjoying playing as them, and I'm also looking forward to the last DLC for Three Houses coming out next week on the 12th.
Yeah, I did hear about that. A lot of people are hyped about that. That's good. It's still one of those games I need to get into. It's on that list of, hey, I want to... It's one of those games I'd like to play within... I didn't get a chance to play it last year after it launched just because there's 55 million other fucking things that come out. But it's one of those that's on my... You know what? Eventually. Whenever we get to that, drought of, hey, here's 2 months where nothing's going on gaming-wise, that's when I'm going to jump in. That's when I know it's right. On my end, I tweeted a while ago a thing that's, and I'm going to be saying this, it's like an objective list for my gaming this year, outside of new releases that come out, but putting that out there sounds like it's like, oh, I'm forcing myself to do this stuff. No, it's just like stuff I want to do, and I know I'm not going to do it all, but more or less to when instead of just thinking, oh man, I don't know what I want to play. I want to play something. I don't know. And I dick around for an hour. It's like, oh no, I made a list of all that I kind of do want to play and know that I have an interest in, so I can look at that. So I've been kind of going through that. First though, Molly and I, my fiance, we wrapped up Life is Strange. Unfucking real. Hands down, one of my favorite narratives this past generation. If it's on Game Pass, go and play it. I can't say enough nice things about it. I can sit here and ramble on all day about it, but I won't. So please, it's on Game Pass. Go check that out if you haven't already. Most of you probably have, but by all means, go ahead and check that out. We're kind of moving on to, for what we're playing together, she picked up for me the Dark Picture Anthology's Man of Medan from Supermassive Games, who made Until Dawn. So she picked that up for me, and now that they're doing this Dark Pictures anthology series where they're basically, it's pretty much once a year they're going to be putting out a game. And granted, they're more condensed experiences. They're more, think of it as novellas compared to full novels. Where, I'm pretty sure I saw on, How Long to Beat, I think Man of Medan's 4 hours long. So really, it's designed for you to play with a group of people and have people over one night and just sit there and play through it in one sitting. It's pretty much built for that. So, I personally think it's really good. There's a lot of technical issues with it that I'm not crazy about. It runs a hell of a lot better than Until Dawn in terms of the frame rate and the dialogue, at least matching up with the mouse moving, because that was an issue for me in Until Dawn that kind of took me out of the times. I'm like, man, the framework on this is not great, and their audio is not linked up at the same time. It is off by a half step. This is much better. It runs a lot smoother. It's very clunky, though, in terms of the camera angles that it puts on you. It tries to take a much more cinematic approach, and it'll, put cameras in little kind of nooks and look down on you. It's it reminds me of times of, the original Resident Evil's, tank controls, that fixed camera at different corners and weird angles. It's just very convoluted at times. But the story's great. I'm enjoying it. We've been kind of picking up and playing it in little bursts here and there the past couple nights, but we'll probably finish it by the weekend, I would imagine. But I'm enjoying it. I'm excited for the next one. Little Hope, I believe, is the next one that's coming up. But that one looks really good. It has the kid from what's his name? He was in Maze Runner. He was supposed to be Pennywise in It before. I can't remember. The kid in Where the Miller Should Gets His Balls Bit by the Spider. That kid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he's in it. And it looks a little more in line with Until Dawn, in terms of the aesthetic and the theme and, the plot, essentially. It seems a little more tied to that. So, I'm a little more excited for this one, but still enjoying it, and we're definitely going to finish it. It's not that long. So, outside of that, though, what I've been playing personally, just by myself, I've jumped back into GTA 5, and I've never, and this is crazy to think, I own that game. I bought it on 360 when it first came out. I bought it on PS4 and Xbox One because I wanted to try it on Xbox One. I got it for I think it was $5 or $10 a code for it for Xbox One. Just when I got my X, I'm like, fuck, I want to see how this runs on here. This is a crazy open world. I want to see how good it runs. But I jumped back into there. I've never beaten the single player campaign in the past 7 years. I've never fucking beaten it. So I've always gotten halfway through or so. So I've been kind of chipping away at that for a little bit every night. But it's really clicking with me. The writing's so great, and it's crazy too thinking now that Dan Houser from Rockstar Games just left, who was integral in writing all of, at least as a co-writer and a co-designer on all of the Grand Theft Auto games, and was the main writer for Red Dead Redemption 2, Bully, all these. He's gone now from Rockstar Games. He, from what it seems like, is going to retire, from at least what it sounds like, but who the hell knows. So it's crazy to think that this may be the last, at least in terms of his voice, that you're going to feel within those games, that theme within the writing, that feel of the writing that you get whenever you're playing a Rockstar game, that just made almost that, like, not uncanny valley, but like a little bit of slapsticky in there. The satirical feel of it. Who knows if that will be there moving forward. But but having fun with it. Got a couple different games I do want to play next, though, but we're getting closer to Doom Eternal, which is getting me hyped. Speaking of that, before we head into our show with the news and everything, let's do some housekeeping first, and we're going to talk about our Doom Eternal giveaway. Are you hyped for Doom Eternal? I know we are, and we want to make sure you're
I can't tell if you are, Travis.
Dude, I'm not going to lie. I'm thinking of Doom Eternal, thinking of fucking ripping some demons. Nips, maybe at about 50% hardness. I don't know. By the time I get done with this ad read, though, they may be at like 75.
They're ripping in the tearing.
My fucking nips right now are getting so hard, they're about to rip and tear through my shirt. Anyways, obviously we are if I'm talking like that. And we want to make sure you're in on the action. So we're giving away one free copy of Doom Eternal for either Xbox One or PC to one lucky listener, and entering is easy. So follow us over on Twitter at GPGC Podcast, retweet the pinned tweet about the contest, and boom, that's it. You're entered. But if you want to improve your odds of winning, you can get an extra entry by tagging a friend in this tweet about the contest. So then, at least if, you're like me and you're unlucky, hopefully you have a buddy that wins and you can mooch off of them, because that's always great. So I'll also have the tweet in the description wherever you watch or listen to the show, so you literally have no excuse. So we'll pull a winner on the March 13th episode of the Game Pass Gamecast. So you have to enter by March 12th, 11:59 p.m. Eastern to qualify. So, like, basically 9 o'clock on March 12th if you're on the other side of the country. And wherever the fuck you are in the world, figure it out. I'm not going through that. So head on over to at GPGC Podcast today and enter. So, before we jump into the news real quick, we got some new games coming to Game Pass that I did want to highlight. So, over on the console side, by the time this show goes live, they'll be out. But on the console side, we got Final Fantasy 15, Wolfenstein Youngblood, both dropping on the 6th. So,
Dean Youngblood.
Yeah, Dean Youngblood. And Death Squared is coming February 13th as well to console. On the PC side, these are all coming on the 6th, so these will already be out by the time this show goes live. Final Fantasy 15, Wolfenstein Youngblood, and then Death's Gambit. And also, on top of that, for PC, the beta for Bleeding Edge will be live from February 14th to February 16th. So make sure you jump in on that. I mean, that's a big Xbox Game Studios title that's coming out. And, I'm curious to see how it is, because at the same time, I'm not a big fan of, like, I like hero shooters because I play Overwatch. Like, I dig it. But I never get necessarily invested into, like, live service games too much. But I definitely want to check it out because it looks really unique, and I'm all into a unique art style. So I don't know. I may check it out. Also, one that sticks out, it didn't get great reviews, but I always do like the Wolfenstein games. I kind of want to check out Youngblood just because I've heard the co-op is fun. What do you guys think? Are you guys going to check out any of these?
Probably definitely Youngblood for the reason you said. Been looking for a good co-op game to play for a while, so probably get involved in that, I would suppose.
Yeah. Adam, what about you? You trying out any of these?
I don't know. I don't think any of these particularly appeal to me.
Oh, then fuck off.
I also, when you talk about beta, I didn't ask what kind of personality type you have, Trav.
Well, it's not beta.
What are you, Gamma?
I'm alpha, bitch.
One lower than beta, if it exists.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Me and Adam know who exists as that, though.
Alright, let's head into the news. With that being said, before you dick on me more. Anyways, let's head into the news. So, first up here, we got Microsoft's Xbox boss says Amazon and Google are the main competitors going forward. This comes over on The Verge via Tom Warren. So go make sure, as always, links in the description, go over there and check out. Give it a link to Tom over on The Verge. get him taken care of. So, Microsoft's head of gaming and Xbox, Phil Spencer, has revealed that the company sees Amazon and Google as its main competitors or competition for the future. Speaking in an interview with newly launched technology publication Protocol, Spencer dismisses Sony and Nintendo's ability to create a cloud infrastructure that will challenge Microsoft, Google, or Amazon. Quote, when you talk about Nintendo and Sony, we have a ton of respect for them, but we see Amazon and Google as the main competitors going forward, says Spencer. That's not to disrespect Nintendo and Sony, but the traditional gaming companies are somewhat out of position. I guess they could try to recreate Azure, but we've invested tens of billions of dollars in the cloud over the years. Microsoft has been realigning its gaming efforts for a future far beyond the Xbox console. The software giant's big effort now involves reaching billions of players around the world with cloud gaming. Google has already launched its Stadia service, and Microsoft is trialing its own xCloud streaming service that is set to launch fully later this year. Spencer has previously discussed the threat of Amazon and Google as competitors, but not in such clear terms. He has also previously stated that Microsoft's gaming business, quote, isn't how many consoles you sell, and he acknowledges this further by noting that Microsoft isn't interested in getting into a future format war with Nintendo and Sony. Quote, I don't want to be in a fight over format wars with those guys while Amazon and Google are focusing on how to get gaming to 7 billion people around the world, says Spencer in the Protocol interview. Ultimately, that's the goal. So, while it doesn't really take a private eye to figure out how Microsoft is approaching next gen by putting a high emphasis on value through their gaming services and promoting the Xbox brand as really a platform more than just a system. At the same time, though, it's interesting to hear someone as high profile as Phil talk directly about traditional competitors like Sony and Nintendo and almost downplaying really their importance. Like, yeah, we see them. We're always going to have respect for them. They're always going to be viewed as a competitor and, especially with traditional consoles, but we're focusing over here. So, and with Stadia dropping the ball early on with their plagued launch, do you think Amazon has the chance to truly take a legitimate market space hold from Microsoft and, hell, even Sony and Nintendo as more gaming services inevitably become the norm across all console manufacturers? What do you guys think?
I mean, it's definitely worth noting the possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know if Sony and Nintendo are going to believe Phil Spencer when he says, I don't mean to disrespect them, because it does kind of sound disrespectful, at least at the surface. But if you dive deeper than that, Amazon and Google both have so much money. They're the only two companies that really have money that would either dwarf dwarfs Microsoft money, if you will. So I don't really blame them for saying that, because it does make sense. And both of those companies, Google and Amazon, that is, both of them have so much money that they could do almost anything they want, it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't blame him for feeling that way and for voicing his opinion. I do believe that, like I said, the other guys, that being Nintendo and Sony, are both going to kind of be a little upset with Phil Spencer's comments, or maybe they just won't care because Xbox One was so bad compared to PS5 or PS4 and the Switch, if you will. But definitely interesting to hear those comments, and it's kind of exciting to be an Xbox fan and hear him say that.
Mm-hmm.
Just makes it seem like he's putting bigger games in his sights than just competing with Sony and Nintendo. Yeah,
I mean, it definitely feels... the transparency is great, but it's also nice to hear him say that they have, a 360 approach to this. They're viewing anybody in that space, not just, yeah, sure. It goes without saying that Sony and Nintendo are going to be direct competitors of them in the traditional gaming space of, hey, here's a box that you hook into your TV and you put a disc into play. That they're always going to be that until one of them drops off and just starts making games or whatever, just stops doing anything gaming. They're always going to do that. But it really shows you kind of how much of an importance is really put on cloud gaming, game services, live services involving gaming, how integral that is to just the overall just stratosphere of gaming. That it's just crazy to think that earlier, even 2 or 3 years ago, nobody would have really thought that. And even now, a lot of people are like, cloud gaming, we'll see. But the more hands-on people get with this stuff, the more hands-on people get with xCloud, it's really starting to, kind of, people are like, maybe this is ready. And especially, like we always say, Microsoft, a company that has fucking Scrooge McDuck money that they're just jumping in and swimming into the pile of gold coins, they can, like Phil said, they've invested, billions and billions of dollars into this technology to make it work and make it work well. And comparative to somebody like Google, who is very financially well off, just like them, who supposedly has also invested in all this, for it to come out and kind of shit the bed, it's just interesting to see where it's going to go, especially with somebody like Amazon, who really hasn't shown their hand yet. Adam, what do you think, man?
I think if Microsoft's going to be focusing on these other two companies as their primary competitors moving forward, Microsoft's definitely got the upper hand. I don't feel like Google's Stadia launch was all that impressive, and there wasn't a lot of buy-in. I'm not really even sure what Amazon is doing with their gaming space besides, I mean, they got Twitch, but in terms of distribution and getting games in front of people to play, I don't really see where those other companies are making moves. So if that's Microsoft's approach, I think they're going to have an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really, if anything, it just sets up a really interesting future within, maybe not for right at the launch of next-gen consoles. Yeah, we may not see in 2020 necessarily, this huge, big eruption with cloud gaming in terms of it's not going to kick off right away, just like a lot of things at the beginning of last generation didn't kick off right away. But it's going to be really interesting within the next, 2, 3 to 5 years, something like that, to see where gaming really is with the emphasis that cloud gaming has, and knowing that Microsoft is saying, we know that, these companies like Google, like Amazon, that have deep, deep pockets are coming, and we don't want to be left in the dust for that, because that is the future. It's not necessarily just the box that you sit on your TV stand. So it's really interesting to see where it's going. So let's head into our next news story. So we've talked about this before, but the rumored, unannounced new Batman game from WB Montreal is supposedly a reboot, and it's coming fall 2020. So this comes from James Sigfield over at Geeks Worldwide. So it reads, sources close to GWW have confirmed that WB Montreal's new Batman game is a, quote, soft reboot of the critically acclaimed Batman Arkham franchise. This will come as a shock to some who were hoping to see a continuation of the popular franchise. A sequel to Arkham Knight was considered early on, with Bruce Wayne's son Damian taking over the cape and cowl. This was cancelled before WB Montreal got a chance to announce it at the Game Awards 2016. What followed was a sting of different ideas and management shifts before the studio decided to settle on a fresh start away from the Arkhamverse. The new Batman game will kick off a new, somewhat cohesive DC game universe shortly after its release this fall. It will be followed up by a next-gen DC game from the creator of the Batman Arkham franchise, Rocksteady Studio. The roadmap from there is foggy. Sources have said that a next-gen Superman game, not Rocksteady, is also in works at WB, but nothing confirmed yet. Details on the story, plot, and gameplay are being kept tightly under wraps. We know that it will feature a playable Bat family, the infamous Court of Owls, and have the introduction of co-op into the franchise. WB Montreal first teased this new Batman game back on Batman Day in 2019 with a symbol of the League of Shadows Demon Head. 4 months of silence ensued, and it was followed up by another symbol, presumably that of the GCPD. It's unknown if these symbols will point to a reveal date or even how long it will go on, but you can be sure that we'll hear about it soon enough. So we've been hearing about this new Batman title from WB Montreal now for what feels like fucking months, and how this game is being, quote, rolled out, if you wouldn't even call it that, with vague images that relate to the Batman IP being posted all across social media platforms. It's now become, like we say a lot of times, one of the worst kept secrets in gaming, along with Fable, a new Fable coming from Playground Games, and the Metroid Prime trilogy port to Switch. Those are like the three big ones that everyone knows about, but nobody's officially said anything, but it's clear as day that shit's happening. So, and while a lot of this info, has been, quote, leaked before on various, forums like Reset Era and, me, the bad boy of Reset Era, getting, banned, come at me, regarding both the current WB Batman project and the canceled Damian Wayne Focus game. This new soft reboot tag is a nice new find. So, Mike, I know you're a pretty big fan of the Batman Arkham series like me. Now that supposedly the series will be a reimagining of sorts, at least in terms of its plot, narrative, and whatnot, what aspects of the Arkham series helped propel it past that of a typical licensed game or games? And which of those aspects do you think are critical to the making of this new reimagining for it to be successful and carry on that legacy that the Arkham games built?
Yeah, I think they did a really good job at following somewhat closely to the traditional Batman game or Batman comics and movies and things of that nature. Mainly the comics with the Arkham series and Arkham Asylum and Arkham City and those games. I think they were relatively close to the comic books so that the traditional Batman fanatic who really enjoys the comics books or whatever, that just enjoys that universe, were pleased with how the story was because it was really recognizable and really easy to follow. But it also kept it to the point where it was fresh enough where those same comic book lovers, it was a new experience for them, and for people who don't necessarily like the comics but like the movies, they could enjoy it also.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought they did a really good job kind of balancing all of that. As far as what we're looking for, or at least what is happening with the game being reimagined, I think it kind of, from a development standpoint, makes sense for the developers to try to do something fresh and something new and a new take on it.
Mm-hmm.
It does concern me because it's why go away with something that worked so well for you?
Mm-hmm.
But again, I mean, some companies do it really well. Some companies, 343, don't do it really well. So we'll just see where they go from here and how it works out for them. But it's exciting, and I'm happy for all our Batman fans that might listen to or produce the show. I know you're a huge Batman fan, so this news has to excite you. So I'm excited for everybody that likes Batman and is going to enjoy it.
Yeah, to me, this makes so much sense because, I'm excited for, I was excited for the prospect of another Arkham game to come out because, really, WB Montreal's Arkham Origins it's very much the black sheep of the family of Batman Arkham games. To be honest, I don't even know if it's canonically, tied into, or at least they acknowledge it as canonically tied into that universe of Batman. To be honest, I'm not sure about that. I've heard both ways of it, that yes, it is, no, it isn't. But it never got a lot of love. I personally liked it a lot. I thought it was possibly one of the best stories that they've had. It has one of the best boss fights in that, with Deathstroke being almost it's almost a legit fighting style, but involves QTEs, but it's just hype. Basically, is just, if you're a Batman fan, it's hype. The way that they present it, it's very cinematic and very cool, and very hard too, surprisingly. But part of me though really likes that, because trying to shoehorn in the Court of Owls, somebody who has read the Court of Owls run of within Batman's The New 32 run, that's going to be really hard to shoehorn that into an already pre-built kind of world and universe. It's a big, long lineage going back to multiple ancestors of Bruce Wayne, tying in with the Court of Owls. It's something that would be, if they were doing it, they would have if they would have had an idea that they were doing this, they would have set parts of this up early on, I would think, because it's too much to I think there's just too much you'd have to retcon to make that fit. But that's what excites me about it, is starting with a fresh slate, they can bring this in, and they have, for the most part, full creative freedom at that point. They can mold this however they want. I'm sure it's going to have a very Arkham feel at times. I would be shocked if it doesn't. But the biggest thing I want them to keep with that, having that creative freedom, is to not make it necessarily cookie cut. I don't want I don't want necessarily safe. At the same time, I say that, but I want it to feel, the adage that's always been, that people always make fun of whenever reviewers talk about the Arkham series is, you truly feel like Batman. But at the same time, yeah, that's kind of a cop-out thing to say, I guess, but it's fucking true. You gotta feel like Batman. But there's so many different avenues that they can take with this, as long as they take that true feeling of being like Batman, feeling like you are this grounded superhero, not somebody who has, can fly and has super strength and all this stuff, but this normal guy who uses his brains and his money, really, to get these gadgets and whatnot and hide in the shadows and use stealth. Like, if they can fit that in to the new aesthetic that they're going to bring with this, I really think they're going to have a home run on their hands. People are ready for this game. People are almost past ready for this game with the way that they've been rolling it out. I personally am just like, it's time already. Give it to us. Like, they've been teasing it for far too long. So it's just ready. I'm ready for this to come out. I'm ready to hear about this. I'm shocked that we haven't heard about this. But it's really exciting. So, guys, let's head into our big topic now. So, we wanted to do this a few weeks ago. A few weeks back, we were thinking about, yeah, let's do it. But scheduling conflicts and whatnot were popping up. But so we wanted to wait until all of us were able to get on the show to do it together. So this week, we're going to kick off with the draft for our first annual Fantasy Critic Games League. So if you aren't familiar with Fantasy Critic Games, imagine taking fantasy football, something I love but am very bad at, and morphing it with video game review scores. So each of us will be given a fictional publisher that we name and whatnot to oversee, and we're tasked with, quote, signing, aka drafting, games to be published under us. So think of like Microsoft picking up the publishing rights for Sunset Overdrive at the beginning of this gen. They didn't own them, but they're publishing the game for them. So they picked it up and will say, hey, we're paying for this and we want to publish this. So basically that's the premise of it. A game score is based on its score from opencritic.com. I'm sure most of you are familiar with that. If you're listening to this podcast, an enthusiast podcast, you're probably in the know on that stuff. If not, think of Metacritic, Rotten Tomatoes. It's very similar to that. And it's basically, it just takes an it aggregates all of the review scores that come out from critic sites. They also do have, as well, they do have, audience scores, but we're going off critic sites, or critic reviews. But it's based on scores from there. So teams will gain or lose points based on how well your drafted game reviews. Only critic reviews, like we were saying, are going to be taken into account. But here's where it gets interesting. For every point above a 70 on OpenCritic, your game gets 1 point. For every point below a 70, you lose 1 point. However, to really separate the cream from the crop, every point above a 90 gets you 2 points. So if a game doesn't release in that year that you're playing either, it's treated as getting a 70, and therefore you get 0 points. So there's games all across the spectrum on this, which we'll kind of get into as we're going. Just kind of running on here, kind of filling everybody in on this. Each game is assigned a, quote, hype factor. Hype factor is a measure of how highly anticipated a game is. It's on a 0 to 100 value, with 100 being the best, obviously, derived from the percentage of leagues that draft a game and what its average draft position is in those leagues. So only leagues that could have drafted the game based on its settings and the date are, counted in that, whatnot. So here's where it gets interesting too. After the draft is done, there's also games that can be picked up via bidding. So if you're familiar with, free agency acquisition budgets rules in fantasy football, it works just like that. Essentially, any player that is interested in a game will place a secret, quote, bid for the game using some of their available budget. Every player gets $100 to start for the year for their budget. Then on Monday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern, the system will process these bids. The top bidder for any game will receive the game and spend the money that they bid. Other players keep their money but do not get the game like you would in any auction. So after, and this is a big one, after everyone has drafted their rosters, we will then draft our counter picks. And a counter pick is a game from somebody else's roster, but instead of getting points for it, you lose points. So the goal really is to choose a game from somebody else's team that you think will be bad, or one that you think won't even release. So really when it's beneficial to you is picking a game that someone thinks is going to be a good pick, but you think it will review poorly, thus giving you points in the long run. So today, what we're going to do is basically we're going to draft 9 games each and have the ability to pick up 9 more games throughout the year, setting each of our publishing rosters at 18 games. So we'll kind of, and what I'm thinking too, guys, we'll do kind of quarterly checkups throughout the year to see where we stand and if any deals have gone down and whatnot. So also too, what do you guys think about a prize? Like, we got to have some kind of, like, bragging rights or something at the end of this, right?
Absolutely.
What are you guys thinking?
The GPGC Championship belt.
A belt? I can finagle.
Just buy one of those, like, plastic belts that we used to get for, like, wrestling back in the day. And just, like, customize it for the GPGC or something of that nature.
I should look
Or
on
a
eBay.
cup.
I should look on eBay and see if they have, like, the Edge Rated R Superstar spinner belt. To get that.
Either that or, like, a cup of some sort, like a big...
Oh, like a
big
pimp
cup.
glass. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, something like that would work, too.
I mean, hey, smoke them if you got them, I guess. But yeah,
Right.
We'll
Exactly.
figure something out. Maybe we'll brainstorm this week. I kind of thought of that part last minute. I'm like, fuck, what are we gonna like do? Whoever wins this, obviously, because like fantasy football, it's no fun unless you put a little money on it, So, anyways, guys, you got any questions before we kind of get started and everybody, get started drafting at least?
Nothing here. I think I'm ready.
I'm ready.
All right, so on my end, my publishing is Got Any Good Games Inc. Marshy, what'd you go with for your publisher's name?
I'm heading up Heckin' Games Co.
Got a heckin' game on your hand, I see. Mike, what about you?
Mine is AAA Garbage Publishers Ltd.
So we're gonna do a snake draft. I haven't looked at how really, because I couldn't really figure out. They don't have a thing on there to really. Oh, here we go. Edit draft order. Randomize. I'll do 3 randoms for the draft here. All right, 1, 2, 3. We'll do one more. Okay, so we got AAA Garbage Publishers drafting first, Heckin' Games going second, and then me, Got Any Good Games Inc. going last.
Third, fourth. Yeah.
All right, let's begin the draft. Dun, dun, dun. All right, warning. Once you start drafting, you can no longer add a... Yeah, fuck that. We're all good. Everyone's here. All right. Mike, you were on the board. And you were ready to draft, my friend.
Okay. Let's do draft game. All right.
So,
so we're doing Xbox and PC only,
yes,
right?
I forgot to mention that we are doing Xbox and PC only because that's what our main audience and our demographic is. We're going to keep it Xbox and PC only. So that does include things like HalfLife Alex and big titles like that may not come to Xbox, but are still in that kind of stratosphere and, recognized with Xbox and known. Like Half-Life is very much intrinsically connected to Xbox through a multitude of avenues. So PC and Xbox we're sticking with. So go ahead, Mike.
Okay.
You're up, my man.
I am going to take Resident Evil 3 as my first pick.
Wow. So Resident Evil 3 right off the bat, what made you do that?
Well, I don't really want to spoil my strategy. But
you don't have to do that, but like what are you thinking?
I know you want Doom Eternal, and I do like Doom Eternal, but I think Resident Evil 3 might score a little bit better than Doom Eternal. Personally, I don't know. We'll see, but that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Resident Evil 3.
Interesting. Did you put that in?
I am drafting it right. Meow, it's done.
Ah, there we go. All right, Heckin' Games, you were up, my friend. What are you thinking, Adam?
All right, let's see here.
Here's a chance to make some money.
Game. I got a couple ideas here of what I might grab first. I'm surprised Half-Life Alex is so low on the hype factor.
I was thinking that too when I kind of first initially looked at it, the games list at least earlier today with the rankings.
Even so, I think I'm going to pick up Half-Life Alex as my first pick.
Half-Life Alex. Wow. So we got RE3 off the board already and Half-Life Alex off. Was not expecting that. But Let's see. All right. Your boy is up. Let's see. Where's the draft is in progress? Select drafting.
Left side, public actions, I think, or player
Or
actions.
player actions, and then click
Oh,
on
there it is. Duh. Okay. So, on the other hand, while I was eating lunch, I made my own little, draft board, what I think. Let me, I have to update that real quick. Oh, I got 2 big ones off the board already. Let's see, boys and girls. So, there's a really safe bet in here that I can go with. The big fish is in there. We all know what you're thinking. And you're all thinking, too, oh, Travis, he's been fucking sucking off Doom Eternal for how long now? He must really...
But how long have you been sucking off the other game that's topping the hype factor list?
Right. Well, no, I'm like you. There's a multitude of games that I'm thinking, do I want to go with? Because then it's also one of those things, too, that just like fantasy football, and Mike, you can attest to this, where it's like, I see that one game down on the board a little bit, but I know
there's some sleepers. It's early to take a sleeper, though.
But it's not. I don't think it's a sleeper. That's the thing. Some of these aren't sleepers.
Well, we all know your history in fantasy football, so feel free to go ahead and give it a whirl. But
who did I take one year? It was something.
Spin the wheel.
It was something really bad early on. It was like, oh, I'm gonna draft a quarterback in like the first round, and like
I don't know, some poop stain.
No, I took Gronk first one year, and he got injured like the next game or whatever.
Well, like that's not the worst pick.
No,
ever,
but I took Aaron Rodgers. I think one of my 1 year. Like, 4 or 5 years ago, and like he
broke his collarbone immediately.
I was like, well, I just shouldn't play. So I think, you know what? It's early. I'm gonna keep it pretty safe. I'm gonna keep it pretty safe here. We're gonna keep it pretty safe. We can gamble. We could flirt with the devil, roll the dice a little bit early. I'm going with Cyberpunk 2077.
Shocker.
I'm gonna keep it safe. I'm gonna take the big fish. So then you guys don't have to worry about it. You
can't wait to counterpick that game since it's not even gonna get out this year.
Ooh.
Don't put that juju on here.
Well, I'm just letting you know. That's why I didn't pick it.
It's been delayed once. That's a big delay. It was delayed 5 months. I think that's enough time. Enough time. This is a snake draft, so I'm up next. Now, I was able to get that. Just looking at my little cheat sheet here. I don't want to put that. I'm going to put that green. A lot of good games on here. You know what? I know Mike won't agree with me on this because of his recent, yet again, frustration with them.
If you can take it,
I'm going to roll the fucking dice. I'm going to roll the fucking dice, and I'm taking Halo Infinite. I believe Chief is back. The Chief is back, baby. Let's go.
Oh, doggy. All right.
Heckin' Games, baby. You're up next.
Heckin' Good Games is going to look at one of the more anticipated games out of Microsoft Studios coming up. Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Damn, motherfucker. That was high on my list, too.
Fair play.
So, did you play the first Ori, Adam?
I did not, but I know that it is very well received. And I have a feeling that the people who are going to review this game and play it are going to have probably mostly good things to say about it.
See, now that's right. That's the mindset you got to have with this shit. I love it. I love people are getting into this shit now. But I agree with you. I think I started playing Ori, I think it was last summer for the first time. Never finished it just because other shit came up and life and shit like that. But really enjoyed it. That's definitely one that I want to get back to and do want to play. So I like that pick. That's a good pick. Mike got a good game on your hand. Good game, you know? All right. What is it? AAA Garbage Publishers Limited. Fucking, you're up.
Okay. This has gotten the whole way to me somehow, so I'm going to go ahead and Doom Eternal it up. They're ripping and the tearing.
Ooh.
Travis had his chance with 2 picks, and he passed both of them. So we're
The
gonna
wild
do Eternal
women,
one up.
the wild women, the ripping and the tearing, the ripping and the tearing. You
And
guys have seen that video, right?
yes.
The
And the
old
next
man.
question is, even though Final Fantasy VII's on a timed release, can I still take that since it will be released on Xbox?
No, because it won't come out till 21.
You son of a bitch.
If it launched in April and came out in like November, yeah, fuck yeah, absolutely. But just because it isn't coming, it's a timed release for a year. It's 21. I can't be doing that.
Okay.
So you're up again with the snake draft, my friend. AAA garbage publisher.
So that's a PS4 exclusive.
Oh.
It says this is limiting us so much.
Now, at the same time, there's games on the list that are draftable that necessarily, one, aren't announced yet, but a lot of are very rumored, or two, don't have a release date that could possibly also release this year. They just don't have that tag on it yet. So, you could still draft those games. But that's what the gamble with it is. If it doesn't come out, you don't get any points. But you could also drop it too if it doesn't come out or whatever. You find out it doesn't come out halfway through the year, you could drop it.
I think
there's a
the
couple
next pick.
There's a couple AAA like third party titles that are still floating that are pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I'm gonna go with Hollow Knight Silksong as my next pick.
Okay, that's a good pick.
That was on my list.
So I'm gonna sneak that pick in there.
Ooh.
I just think that the Hollow Knight series is such a unique one, and I think it's gonna do really well, and I think it's gonna score really well.
Yeah, I mean it's one of the best Metroidvania-esque games that are out there right now. I mean,
and there's still a market for it for sure. So
100%, hell yeah. Adam, you're up. What are you
All
looking
right,
at?
coming back to me.
Heckin' games.
All right. Want to take a look at. I don't know if some of these are coming to which platforms.
that's what I have to keep looking up a little bit because sometimes you think, oh, it'll be out on Xbox, and then
Oh yeah, that's a big one. That sometimes it's like, even if it's like an indie game that you think's going to review well, but you look it up and it's like, oh, I thought it was coming to Xbox, and no, it's only PC and PS4 or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Gonna have to start reaching into the later pages for this, I think.
Now, also, like I said too, could be just a PC only game as well. That's cool.
Right. Eek. I see Overwatch 2 is on here. Gonna avoid that like the plague.
Jesus.
Oh, I know what I gotta pick up. Set to release on April 28th. Gears Tactics.
Ooh.
Oh, he's going way down there on the list, but I like it.
I'm not gonna lie.
The hype score is pretty low, but I think it's gonna get some good reception.
I mean, you gotta think it's a PC for now, at least. I would be absolutely shocked if this doesn't eventually come to console, but
Right.
it's a PC-centric strategy game in the vein of an XCOM, in the vein of a Mario and fucking Rabbids, like the borrowed from
Right.
XCOM, that style of strategy game that is being built first and foremost with that. It's a brand new story within that universe. It's with this new narrative of Gears that has been received very well. I think it's going to review pretty well. Personally, I think there's a lot of good things riding with it. I'm not going to lie. For a second, I thought you were gonna say I gotta draft Spelunky 2 that's on here.
I saw it in there. I'm like, well, I could go for that, but they're definitely gonna call me out for it because I talked some major shit on Spelunky.
What was I think the quote was You were like,
get that shit out of here.
No, you said it's okay. Like in that like tone, you were like, it's okay.
Yeah.
You kind of took it from the top rope, Rey Mysterio style. Just fucking hurricaned its ass. All right, I'm up. Let's see. What do we got here on my list here? There's There's one on here that I don't think is gonna come this year, but you never know. But I feel like it would review really well, because traditionally those games do review really well in that same vein. But at the same time, there's one... You know what? I'm going to take a gamble. I'm taking another gamble. I'm feeling risky today. I'm going to draft, even though I don't know if it's coming out this year. I'm drafting Elden Ring from Software.
Ooh, I was looking at that one.
Traditionally,
That's
Software,
a risky move.
It's risky because you don't know if it's coming out, so I'm not going to get any points if it doesn't. But From Software games traditionally review excellent. Like they get
That's true.
glowing reviews. So I feel pretty good about that. And we haven't heard a date on it, but it's been almost a full year now since it's first was revealed. I feel pretty good. From Software is pretty quick to get their games out too. It doesn't really take too long.
Alrighty.
Let's look at our next one here. There's one too on here that I almost thought I'd pick. I just know there's not a ton of hype around it. But it's got a decent hype factor on it. But in terms of like word of mouth, there's not like people aren't clamoring for this. That are like, fuck, where's it at, man? You know, it's not like people are like, Last of Us Part 2, give me that shit, or Cyberpunk, I want it now injected into me.
Right.
But you know what? I think after doing that, I think after drafting Elden Ring, taking a little bit of a gamble, even potentially with Halo Infinite, took a little bit of a gamble, I'm going to take a safer pick. I'm going with Microsoft Flight Simulator. Going with
safe pick, huh?
I think it's safe because if you look at that game, you got ridiculous, like probably like setting the bar very high in terms of graphical fidelity. It's going to blow a lot of... It's going to be a tech showpiece for a lot of things. For the high-end PCs that it's going to run on. For the Xbox Series X when it comes out. It's going to be one of those absolutely asinine, like, almost that Oblivion moment of, hey, you just come and sit here and watch this. Here's the controller, even... Just look around. Look up at the sky. Look at these environments in HD for the first time. Only now it's going to be in 4K, and eventually I'm sure they're going to have fucking 8K patches for it when the time comes. And I think it's just going to review very well because they traditionally do. I mean, they're simulators, but Microsoft now is adding some kind of gamification to it, really promoting and bringing this IP back. I mean, nobody has really thought about Microsoft Flight Simulator for how long. So I think they're going to take a little bit of a gamble on their end with it and kind of throw some eggs in that basket. So I feel like this is going to be a lot safer than people think. So Adam, you're up. What are you thinking now?
This is one that I've been super looking forward to. It's been delayed and delayed and delayed, but there's been gameplay footage released. I think it might even be in a closed beta or some other kind of testing release.
Spelunky 2.
Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord.
Oh,
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
I was going to actually take that one, no joke.
So let me ask
pick.
you, Adam, because you're somebody who has kind of stuck with the Mountain Blade series. What about those games kind of hooks you in? Like, I've never really like had the pull to get into them, even though I love, medieval-esque aesthetic, I don't want to say high fantasy, but that aesthetic of medieval.
It's very low fantasy, actually. It feels very. It is set in a fictional world, but it's very grounded. There's no magic whatsoever.
True, and that's what I mean. But more or less the medieval level of, combat, I should say.
Yeah.
So
it's. I think for
it?
me, it's the rags to riches. It's like starting out with nothing, being a lone adventurer, just working for a couple coins a day. Like maybe you go. Compete in a tournament and bet on yourself, or maybe you run as a guard escorting a caravan, and as you do more and more stuff, you start gathering followers, you start building an army, and all of a sudden you're clearing out bandit camps for even more money, or you're joining up with, whatever nation you're siding with. You join up as a mercenary and they've got you on retainer. Maybe eventually you actually swear fealty to a lord, join the army, go on campaigns. You start conquering castles and taking them over. You start schmoozing with the other lords to say, hey, man, put in a good word for me because I conquered that castle. I believe that it should be awarded to me. Because just because you conquered a castle while you're on campaign with a nation doesn't mean you automatically get awarded it. But, you start playing the politics games. You start strategically playing around the feuds between other lords, gaining favor here, smacking people down here so that other people will like you more. And eventually you get to the point where you're basically running the shit yourself. You can start your own independent nation. You can take up the cause of a claimant and say, like, hey, this guy's the real heir to the throne. We're going to take your fucking kingdom over. I don't know. It's a really fun progression. Getting there can be a little bit repetitive. The battles do get a little bit like, ho-hum, yeah, we're raiding the same. We're climbing the ladders again. We're swinging our swords. But just the overall, the broad strokes arc of that game is very enjoyable.
Nice. I've never jumped into them. They've always been like dirt cheap on Steam sales and whatnot. And I've always been like, just fucking pick it up. Like, yeah, if you spend a couple bucks on it, it doesn't work out. At least that developer gets a little cash for their game. But like, at worst case scenario. But I definitely think I'm going to try them out because I do like that medieval combat aesthetic that comes with it and the gameplay that follows it. So I may jump in. I might try Bannerlord. I might try it
Maybe
out.
I'll stream it sometime. You can check it out. I don't want to hold us up too long talking about this, though. So I believe it is AAA Garbage Publishers Limited's turn.
Don't you forget the Limited.
Yeah, it's limited. Come on, guys.
Go ahead, AAA. Let's hear it.
So the first game I'm gonna pick is my first big reach of this draft. I'm gonna go with Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Quarantine.
Ooh, I like that pick.
The supposed next installment in the Rainbow Six. It looks like it's going to be a spin-off of Siege, and that's Outbreak game mode. It seems like it's going to be a 3-player cooperative shooter. I think the game market is thirsty for games like that the co-op shooters.
It's almost very Left 4 Dead,
things like that. Yeah. So I'm going to go with Rainbow Six Quarantine for my first pick. The second pick I'm going to go with is also a little bit of a reach. But I have two pretty solid games that should review pretty well, and I think I can afford the gamble here.
Ooh, it's Brute Force.
No. I am going to go Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, I like that. That's good.
Fella.
Yeah,
I can't believe I didn't see that one yet.
I am risking a game that potentially might not even be released this year, but it's one of those sleepers where if it does release, it's going to get really good critic scores.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to get me a ton of points. So I'm willing to roll the dice on that game.
I respect that.
Yeah,
That's
I think every other
pick.
game I have thus far is definitely going to release. Now, whether or not Quarantine or Baldur's Gate, I mean, that's a situation where both of those games might not release, but I think for sure Hollow Knight, Doom Eternal, and Resident Evil 3 are going to release. So if I get one of the whether Rainbow Six Quarantine or Baldur's Gate 3 gets released, I would say Rainbow Six Quarantine definitely going to release this year because it's been a while since they released something new.
And I think Ubisoft did say that in their fiscal year it will be releasing. So there's a very good chance that 3/4 of that fiscal year is within 2020. I feel pretty good that could be, because they basically scrapped this game that was teased in Watch Dogs 2, and they took that game that they teased within it that was going to be some kind of almost No Man's Sky-esque game and redesigned it and put the Rainbow Six license on it and made it into this Left 4 Dead-esque game. So I could see that being possibly even a launch title. I would feel good about that pick personally. So
I believe I'm up next.
Those are my two picks.
Heckin' Games, let's hear it.
Heckin' Games is going to go for a little indie gem that I've been following for a little while. I can't remember if I kickstarted it or if I just pre-ordered it or whatever. But if you guys are fans of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, you can't miss out on Skatebird.
Oh, fuck yes. I love this pick. That's a good pick. I respect you. It's a gamble, but I respect the hell out of you for doing that. Like,
I'm almost certain it's gonna come out this year, and I it's another one of those things where the attention that it's going to get, I'm not saying it's gonna become like a massive hit, but the people who are going to play it are gonna love it.
yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. I've seen that on a few different, like, indie game showcases. I believe it was featured on Kind of Funny is one of the ones they've done, but it looks incredibly fun. Like, all gimmicks aside, it looks like just a flat out fun, like, twist on a sports game. So that's one I would pick up and play. So heading into, oh god, a minor error has occurred. Jesus Christ. Okay, no, we're good. I think it just like timed out on my end for some reason. We're good. All right. Let me see now. All right, I got since I got back-to-back picks, I know what my gamble's gonna be, but I gotta look at more of a safer bet here. You know what? I got one. I got one that'll be decent. I got one that I think will, it'll go pretty well. I think it's gonna net me a few points. In that game, little game coming out, Minecraft Dungeons. Coming out Q2 of 2020. It's confirmed to come out 2020. So I feel very safe about, one, getting that pick. Because, one, Mojang with Microsoft's dollars, if they're putting out Minecraft, there's a damn good chance they're going to put out a pretty polished product. They're not just going to put the Minecraft license on, Dookie, to say the least. I would feel, as being one of the most lucrative gaming franchises in the world. I feel pretty confident. Plus, it's a dungeon crawler, and a lot of people who were wanting that Diablo feel that they haven't had in quite a while, being Diablo 3 being out now for almost 8 years, they're looking for a fresh kind of slate with something like that. And the accessibility, too, I think that's going to help it get in more people's hands. And I think it's just going to review well. I think the polish is going to be there with the money behind Microsoft. And they've been pushing this game, too. It's not just been like, oh, yeah, and here's Minecraft Dungeons. Anyways, let's move on. It's been, like, highlighted in a lot of their Inside Xboxes and any kind of, like, media that they put out where they're kind of showing off new titles coming. That's kind of been one of those games that's been front and center. But my second pick, in WB Montreal, if you're listening, I know this game's coming out. We already talked about it, but I know this game's fucking coming out. You need to stop dicking around. It's time to just talk about this game. It's fine if it's like, hey, it's coming out later this year. It'll be out. But we want you to know that we are releasing a Batman game. We're not just going to fucking dangle the carrot a little bit in front of you, like the fucking Progressive commercial, or State Farm, whatever it is, with the guy with the dollar bill on the fishhook, like, oh, a little too quick for you. Oh, come on. You can almost get, like, just fucking stop putting out these teasers and shit. Just fucking, like, show, like, hey, yeah, it's happening. Here it is. Here's a quick 30-second teaser. Fucking Christ. Bethesda even got their shit together on showing us 10 seconds of Elder Scrolls 6. And that shit ain't gonna come out till my kids are in college. So, I'm going, but I believe. I have faith. I have faith you're gonna put out a good game.
You just gave us every reason why you shouldn't believe, and now you're saying we're believing?
I'm believing. It's coming out. It's still coming out. And maybe it doesn't want me to draft it. There we go. Okay, yeah, it did draft. So I'm going with and this is the official title on Fantasy Critic, untitled Batman game from WB Montreal, quote, unannounced. So, we're kicking it back over to Heckin' Games. Heckin' Games, after my little monologue there, what are you going with?
Let's just browse the list here. Starting to reach for games that are probably more risky, might not be coming out for sure. Got a couple different things kicking around in my mind right now. I'll let you in on. on one hand, we got no, I'm on the wrong page.
Beavis and Butthead Dual America the game.
On one hand, you got
Remastered.
System Shock. Now, as a remake of a classic PC game,
Mhm.
I think it probably will come out this year, but it has a chance to be pretty controversial. Remakes tend to be very hot or cold.
Hasn't that been kicking around for a while?
It has, yeah. So that's something I could go with, but it has the potential to be a big hit. Or I could go with a bit of a safer bet and pick up Carry On, which I played a tech demo for. Maybe it wasn't a tech demo, just a demo, really. Which it was a very much smaller scale game, but very enjoyable. I think. Yep, I think I'm gonna make this my pick. I'm gonna grab Carry On.
Oh, all right.
I don't know if I've shown you this one. You play as like this parasite that invades a facility, and you just run around eating people, trying to avoid the defenses of the place. It's a lot of fun.
I can't believe you took Gears Tactics round fucking 3, bro.
Dude, that happened. That was a thing that happened.
Jesus, throwing some shade. A little bit of shade. From AAA garbage publishers Limited.
It's okay, dude. Let it go.
All right, Limited. Let's hear it. What are you going with? Your first of 2 picks.
My first of 2 picks. The one's going to be Psychonauts Deuce.
Ooh, good pick. That was on my list.
So we'll go ahead and draft Psychonauts Deuce. Not much to explain other than the fact that it's one of those middle-of-the-road games where I didn't know if it was going to go or not, but since it's there, you kind of have to take it type deal, you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
And then the next one I'm going to take... This feels kind of risky, but I'm going to take Marvel's Avengers since it's still available also. So I have drafted Psychonauts 2 and then Marvel's Avengers being done by Square Enix. Square Enix games are always rated really highly, so it just feels like a really safe pick.
I respect it. I always say on this show, every time I see that game, it continues to improve its messaging and what the game actually is and how well it does look and looks like it's going to perform. So I'm afraid that it may not review well off the bat because it's a live service game to an extent, but with so much single player content it's going to have, I think it'll be okay. So I think that's a pretty good pick, to be honest. All right, Heckin' Games.
Heckin' Games is done playing it safe. I'm gonna grab a risky pick this one. I'm going for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2.
Jesus Christ. I forgot that game was even coming out.
I've never even heard of it.
So the original Vampire the Masquerade is based on a tabletop role-playing game where you play as a vampire in one of different, many different, I guess they're like tribes or families of vampires that have different traits. And the PC game was actually built on an early version and a a heavily modified version of Half-Life 2's engine. And the game is like kind of a cult hit. It's incredibly campy, but people still think it's good. And if there's a sequel coming out, if it's coming out this year, I think it has the potential to get me a lot of points.
I've heard decent previews of it from the few people who have played it, and people from who I listen to, I should say, the few people I listen to that have played it. And, half of them have never played the original. And, the ones who haven't, because that's usually who I'm trying to take, that's who's going to give you a kind of judgment on just playing out how the game is, a good assessment of it, I think. They were like, it's pretty good. It's not bad. I'd play it. It's so it's going to be one of those games. The people, the IGNs, the GameSpots, those people have multiple reviewers under them in multiple systems, having multiple reviewers on them. It's going to be one of those games that they're going to have somebody who knows that series that's reviewing it, who's going to be able to speak to that audience specifically, who is going to care about that game. They're going to have somebody who reviews the Naruto games and shit like that, who is like into knowing that shit, just throwing out some IP.
That's true.
So I think that's a pretty good pick. I think that'll like review decently well. So my first of back-to-back picks, and I'm gonna split it here. I'm gonna go one safer one, and we're gonna go with the safe one right off the bat. I'm gonna go with the Call of Duty game for 2020. Call of Duty games overall.
It's so fucking funny because everyone knows it comes out yearly, but they still haven't named the damn thing, so you just have to call it the Call of Duty game.
Yeah, Call of Duty 2020 unannounced. Like, Call of Duty 2020 should just be the name at this point. Like, it's fucking Madden.
Just name them like Madden.
So, Call of Duty games, like, granted, people like Mike who play, these games competitively at a high level are usually able to pick out the different nuances within the game that affect how that game plays at a high level. Where usually getting reviewed, these games usually review well from their campaign, and they usually are reviewed from the casual perspective. That's why a lot of them are like, oh yeah, there's a ton of different classes you could do. You can customize this. There's a lot of good incentives to keep coming back. So, and they usually put a good score on it. I feel pretty safe with that one. My next pick, though, make sure it's still on here, yes, is going to be Tell Me Why from Don't Nod Games, the creators of Life is Strange. It's their new project. It's an Xbox exclusive. So, I'm really excited about that. I love the, choose your own adventure, Telltale-esque point-and-click quotes around that, style games that come out, the episodic ones, and just coming off the heels of Life is Strange, knowing how well and how great the writing is from Don't Nod, and the world building that they're able to do, and the way that Tell Me Why is set up, and the story being this based around the connection these two twins have. I'm really excited about that. I think it's going to review well, and I think it's going to blow a lot of people away. So, Hacking Games. What's the next on the list? Getting towards the end of our draft picks here now, too. Because really, I only have one more after this. Yeah, I'm at 8 games. So we're only going to be drafting... You guys will each have 2 more, including the one you're doing now, Adam. So...
Right. All right. My pre-penultimate pick is going to be, if I could find it again, here it is, Axiom Verge 2. Ooh. Axiom Verge 1 was a pretty well-received Metroidvania. Mm-hmm. This one's said to release in fall of 2020, so there's a chance it could get delayed and I could be SOL. We'll see.
Hey, but still, that game was loved by so many people. Granted, it was announced during a Nintendo Indie Showcase for Switch, but it's definitely coming to PC at least, at bare minimum, for sure. So that's a good pick, if you ask me. I like that one. It's good. It seems like it's a good Metroidvania. I've never played the first one, but I've always been interested in doing so because I like Metroidvanias, and it seems like that's top of the class. A lot of people have been hoping that who's the developer behind them?
Axiom Verge?
Yeah, developer Thomas Happ Games. I've heard a lot of people say, like, on different podcasts and whatnot, they'd love to see Thomas Happ Games, like, take a crack at literally making a Metroid game. Almost in the style of giving that IP to them, lending it to them like Nintendo did with Zelda for, Cadence of Hyrule, and Ubisoft with both Star Fox and Mario even, like, so I think that would have been cool to see eventually, but who the fuck knows? The shit's all up in the air. Mike, go ahead. What are your last 2 picks here?
I am going to go with Legends of Runeterra.
Ooh.
So I'm going way down there. It's a shitty Riot game, which means it's going to review really well. So we'll go with that, maybe.
Well, you got the right publisher name then.
Yeah, exactly.
Shot.
So because it's I feel kind of like a sellout picking these last two picks, but one's serious. This one I'm about to make, wherever it is. Did I pick it? No. Who do you think you are? I am.
Who do you think you are? I am. Shout out to bowling, man.
So we're gonna go ahead and draft Legends of Runeterra. Sellout pick, easy points. And the next one's going to be easier points, and it's going to get under Adam's skin.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to go with Spelunky, too.
You son of a bitch.
It's okay.
Just because Adam hates it.
I don't think he hates it. He was just kind of disgusted that it was on the list of top like 10 games of the decade from the past decade. Like, I think he was more like, okay, yeah, it's okay, but like it's not like top 10 from the past decade.
But if I were to go play the game today, I would probably still feel the same. Like it's fine, but
that's it. Maybe it's fine.
Maybe I should give it a fair shake before I continue my tirade of Spelunky.
That's what it was. You were like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Oh fuck. All right, Adam. What's your last pick?
Ooh, getting down to the wire. There's not much left that feels safe anymore. Gonna have to go out on a limb. There are some weird games on here. Let's go with
Banjo and Kazooie Nuts and Bolts 2.
No, thank you. I think I'm going to come back around to System Shock, and that is going to be my final pick.
That is a pick, to say the least. So we've come down to this. Last one here. Let's just take a look at the available games here. I think I'll go with Breath of the Wild 2. That's coming to Xbox, right? There's one on here two actually. There's two on here that I see that are tempting as fuck. Like real fucking tempting. Like there's just a fucking like barbecue bacon Jack Daniels burger from TGI Fridays just sitting there like, hey, why don't you come over and eat me? Go ahead, take it. Take a little nibble. I got Jack Daniels in my sauce. You know, it's just sitting there. I'm tempted as fuck to take. You know what? You know what? No. I'm going to stay safe. I'm going with Assassin's Creed 2020. The unannounced, but it is coming. They did say there's a new Assassin's Creed game coming in 2020. So I'm taking that. Safe bet. Lock it in. It'll at least get like an 8 or above because they always do. So that's it.
I was going to take that but I wanted to get Spelunky too. Before I gave Adam the chance, I knew he was going to take it.
All right,
it was a counter pick.
So now it's time for our counter picks. And I'm up first. And I think I know what I'm going to take right off the bat. I am going to take Marvel's Avengers.
That's probably a good counter pick.
I'm gonna go with Marvel's Avengers for my counter pick. I there's still that doubt in my mind at the same time that it could go sour. So, Adam, Heckin' Games, what's your counter pick?
You know what? I'm counterpicking the Batman game.
Ooh, you rat bastard. My belief in this game will be your downfall, damn it.
We'll see.
All right, AAA Garbage Publishers Limited. It's a fucking mouthful. What are you counterpicking?
I am counterpicking Halo Infinite.
Wow.
It ain't making it out this year. Fuck 343, they suck.
Oof.
I think it's got to make it out. They already said it's launching with the that's going to be their one launch game with the console. I think
I'll watch.
But I do agree that it may not be a smash success that people are thinking. But me personally, I have faith in it.
Absolute dog meat. It's 343. Who has faith in 343? Only you.
Yeah, because I am, I guess, a sheep saying that. All right, I think we get multiple ones.
Do we?
Yeah, I think so. Did you picked yours?
Yeah,
right?
I get another one.
Okay, so maybe it must be 2 or 3.
Well, we all know Call of Duty 2020 is coming out, so I can't counterpick that shit.
No.
I will counterpick. Adam has like some really weird games that I don't know that they should get counterpicked, but I'm going Half-Life. I don't know. Fuck.
That's coming out soon. Like, they haven't delayed it yet, and it's coming out like next month.
Yeah, I know, but it's gonna get shitty reviews. I'm taking Half-Life Alex as my counterpick.
Ooh.
I just don't think it's gonna get reviewed very well with it being
VR.
VR only.
I don't
Yeah,
know,
that's
man.
valid.
They're looking to make that the killer app for VR, though. But
Yeah,
It's
I
a
really
pretty tall order.
And your beliefs are with Halo Infinite and 343, who hasn't done a good thing since they've took over the series. So that's how far I take your opinion.
Fair. I'll give you that. Fair. All right, Adam, what's your counter pick?
Legends of Runeterra.
Ooh. Woof.
I think
All
there's a pretty hot chance that it's going to be bombarded by Hearthstone fanatics and people who are just used to playing other games.
So,
Oh, they'll like games that are unbalanced and garbage because that's all Riot can put out.
Jesus Christ. Oh, God. Stop! He's dead already! All right, I can't believe... Enough joking around here, all right? Enough joking around.
Go ahead, counterpick Doom Eternal.
No, you know what? No, because that's going to review well. You know what the fuck I'm picking for my counter pick? Spelunky 2.
Adam let it slip through the cracks. What an oversight.
It's fine. I need to get that, I need to go back and somebody clip that out. I need that. It's a fine game. It's fine. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the draft. So now, from here, basically, it'll be it'll go along like any fantasy football, but we'll be able to pick up quote-unquote free agents in terms of signings that we can get with our $100 allotment throughout the year to basically get us to 18 games. So we still have half a roster to fill out, but that plays into the strategy of, hey, we got E3, in a couple months. We got, I'm sure, more inside Xboxes and whatnot coming out. There's more games that are going to be announced that could potentially come out by the end of the year. So that kind of plays into it too. But guys, that's it for our first ever draft special for the Game Pass Gamecasts Fantasy Critics Game League. I had fun. I'm actually excited to kind of check this throughout the year and see where it goes, especially with, I'm sure, like I said, more games coming out in terms of unannounced games, and especially whenever the fucking unannounced Batman game from WB Montreal comes out. I'm going to be fucking rolling in it. So, guys, that's going to do it for our show this week. Mike, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the social medias and the interwebs to talk about your picks from AAA Garbage Publishers Limited?
You can find me on Twitter at TOISXLDIER. That's Toy Soldier. And you can find me on Twitch at MP_Toy Soldier.
Adam, where can people find you on the interwebs to talk about your picks and probably tell you made the wrong choices, I'm sure?
Hit me up on Twitter at AC_Marshy. That's at AC_MARSHY.
Tell him Spelunky's good.
Yeah, let him know. He'll love that.
If you like Spelunky, I'm sorry. Your tastes are valid. I'm sure it's a great game.
But you're wrong.
You're wrong.
If you can't tell that, because this is an audio podcast, you should be able to physically feel that Adam is rolling his eyes when saying that. But as always, I'm your host, Travis White, aka Travelus, on most internet platforms, including Twitter at Traveless_, that's TRAVLESS_. You can also find me streaming time to time over on twitch.tv/Traveless_, it's the same as Twitter. And if you want to play them video games with me over on Xbox Live, you can find me over there at just regular Traveless, TRAVLESS. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this has been your newest episode of the Game Pass Gamecast, your weekly go-to podcast for all things Xbox and Xbox Game Pass, including news, rumors, and conversation around them damn good video games. Be sure to catch new episodes of the show each and every Friday morning on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all other major podcast services. So be sure to subscribe to us wherever you get those, and follow us on Twitter at GPGC Podcast. Stay up to date with everything regarding the show, video games light, and our cool giveaways that we do have going on, including our Doom Eternal giveaway. So make sure you go and click the link in the description to get signed up for that. And that being said, guys, that's the end of our episode for this week. Thank you so much for listening, sharing, and being a part of this growing community. Game on and play them fucking video games, and we will see you next week.